Hello, welcome back. You're listening to the Girl vs. Life podcast produced by Girl vs. Planet. My name is Cheryl and I'm your host, and thanks for listening. So, today I would like to talk about books and reading. Now, if you know me, you know that I'm a big reader. I love thriller books. I read romance. I read pretty much anything. I have a hard time getting into nonfiction books, so I don't read a lot of them. I always start them and then just lose interest before I get very far. So I don't read a lot of them, but there are some that are good that I can get into. Uh, I want to talk about how books always kind of save me. So I guess it started when I was a kid. I remember that I had a library card, I had a children's library card at my local library, and my mom had an adult library card. And I remember her taking me to the library and we would get like the limit on the kids card first of all was 5 books. You could check out 5 books at a time. On an adult card you could check out up to 10 books at a time. Now, I would honestly get through those 5 books pretty quickly. So my mom would check out books for me on her card so that I could get up to 10 books because that would last me longer. And I don't know why I remember that, but I do. Just going to the library as a kid and getting into reading that way. And that's how I started. I always loved it ever since I was a kid and learned how to read. And then when I got to reading novels as opposed to just like kids' books, I remember that I started with Nancy Drew. I think my parents may have had some Nancy Drew books, or my brother had like the Hardy Boys or something. And I loved the Nancy Drew books. And when I was a kid and I started reading full novels like that, I could finish one of the Nancy Drew books in a day. And I would go with my parents, and my dad built cabinets and installed them in people's kitchens and bathrooms. And so he would have to go out on installation to install them. And my mom helped. And so she went with him. And because they didn't have a babysitter, I would go with them to install cabinets. And I just remember like they would find a little spot in the corner where they would put down a blanket, and I would sit there on the blanket and just read. And that's what I would do while they were working. And I remember that. So I've been into books for a long time, like ever since I was a kid. So why do I want to talk about this now? Well, for me, books have been a way to help with anxiety. That's not all they are. I mean, I enjoy reading, obviously, and I enjoy them. But, like, for example, now I'm unemployed. And so I talked about this in my last episode. I talked about how you get these feelings of just feeling like you're never doing enough. Like you should always be productive or doing something and applying for jobs, finding a way to make money. And it's constant. Like I can't, like I think about it going to sleep at night. And for me, being used to reading and reading novels and reading fiction and reading stories has got me to where it can help with those racing thoughts, the anxiety, the thought of, oh, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that. And I go to bed at night and I think of all those things. And so instead of sitting there and just letting my mind spin like that, I will read a book. And that's kind of why I want to talk about that. It's always on my mind because I'm reading all the time. And I read over 100 books last year. And that wasn't my original goal, but it just kind of happened. And I read a lot of books and I ended up reading over 100. This year, I set my goal a lot lower. I set it to like 50, I think it was. And I surpassed that 50 back in like August, maybe. So I don't really have a specific goal past that this year, but I think I'm getting close to 80. Yeah, it'll be up close to 100 again this year. Books calm my racing mind. They help me with anxiety. They help keep me from going into just a spin where I'm thinking about everything and thinking about what I should be doing and thinking about how I'm not doing enough or, whatever. I can sit down, open a book, read somebody else's story, and get out of my own head. So that's kind of where I'm coming from today. They've always kind of helped me, even since I was a kid. So I want to talk about that a little bit. Just thinking about specific times when reading has really helped me. So going back to the beginning of COVID in like March into the summer of 2020, when we didn't really understand it, we didn't know what it meant to have a pandemic, and we were all staying at home, trying to stay safe. And it was scary because we didn't really know what to expect. I mean, Anxiety runs in my family anyway, and I was having major anxiety over the pandemic and being afraid to go out and being afraid of getting it and dying and watching all of the news stories about it and listening and just like scrolling on social media. I feel like that's when we really started calling it doom scrolling because that's what it felt like, just reading all of the news and everything about COVID. And for me, reading helped. Remember going to bed at night, that's like one of my favorite times to read. I have a Kindle, it has a light on it. It's super easy to just lay down in bed, look at that Kindle, and start reading a book. And it's comfortable and it gets me out of my head and gets me into another story. And so I did that. And then I also remember because we were stuck at home, I remember during COVID, my husband and I, after work, we both worked from home at the time for a little while. And after we got done with work, we would go out to our backyard and sit outside in our backyard and we would both read. And I just remember that being so helpful and so calming for me, and that is how I got through it. Like, that really helped me so much with my anxiety. And I've just continued to read so much since then. And even just thinking about, again, going back to COVID times, I feel like everybody kind of had different projects during COVID that we all did. For some people, you hear about it was the sourdough bread or it was binge watching a TV show or whatever. Everybody got a certain project that they got involved in during COVID. And one thing that I did, my husband and I, the house that we were living in at the time, had this third bedroom that we had kind of set up as a guest bedroom. And we had a couple visitors while we were living there, but not really that many. And so this spare bedroom was not really going to use. It was our guest bedroom, but we didn't really have any guests, especially when it was during COVID. And I ended up deciding to, like, I took apart the bed and I put like the mattress on the floor and kind of pushed it up against the wall and put a bunch of pillows and blankets and stuff on it. And then I set up kind of a little bookshelf. I set up a little, wasn't really a library, but it was kind of just a reading room. Like, it was, I could go in there and read and just be comfy. And I ended up putting a TV in there and would have like ambiance on the TV, and I would read. And so that's how much it is a part of my life, is that I like turn this into my reading spot, my reading nook in this room. So, I mean, I've talked a lot about how so far reading has been an escape for me, and not even so much an escape. It's like everything is still there, but it helps me get into a story versus thinking so much about my mind spinning into whatever I'm worried about or thinking about at the time. One thing, I'm not necessarily a big audiobook person. I don't have a problem with audiobooks. I think it's just the way that I personally am wired, that when I'm reading, like on a Kindle or on a physical book, it makes me focus on that. And if I'm listening to an audiobook while I'm doing something else, I mean, I think that's a great idea, a great concept. I wish that I could do it. But what happens is that no matter what I'm doing, if I'm listening to the audiobook, it's very hard for me to stay focused on the audiobook because my mind, again, will go elsewhere and I will be, a few pages in and have no idea what just happened because my mind will just jump to something else. But for whatever reason, reading a physical book or reading on a Kindle, I don't do that. I stay focused in the story. And so that's why it's helped me. I do like, if you have Kindle Unlimited, and Kindle Unlimited has really grown since it started. I know just there's so many books that I find on there now that you used to not be able to find anything popular on Kindle Unlimited, honestly. But now they have a lot of popular books. And one feature that they have is that this isn't the case with all of the books on Kindle Unlimited, but a lot of them have the audiobook included so that if you have a Kindle, and again, this is honestly not an ad for Kindles, but I love them and it helps me. So Kindle Unlimited has a lot of books where the audiobook is included. So if you're reading on your Kindle and then say you have to drive somewhere, go somewhere, you can take your Kindle with you. You can set it up with Bluetooth in your car and continue listening to the book, and it knows where you're at. It knows where you started and stopped. So you like read on the Kindle and then you jump back in and you listen in your car, which is awesome. That I can do because it kind of still keeps me in the story. Like, I still pay attention because it's a story that I've already gotten into. So thinking about a few books, just to jump into what I read, thrillers are my favorite. That's probably what I read the most. And I like other books as well, but just to kind of shout out some thriller authors that I have gotten into lately that I love and that I think are not as popular as, I mean, they're starting to get popular, but they're a little more outside of your norm. Jennifer Hillier is one, Faith Gardner, and Lucinda Berry. They're all kind of newer ones to me, at least, that I have discovered recently. And they all have stories that will stick with you. So if you are looking to get into thrillers, I would definitely recommend any of those authors. And as far as books that have meant something to me that I've read recently, there's not a lot of, I say this as I have a bookcase right behind me in this video, but I tend to not collect a lot of physical books anymore just because I read so much on my Kindle. It's kind of a waste of money to buy so many books when I'm reading everything on my Kindle anyway. I say that, but obviously there are books that I do read and I do collect because I have this whole bookshelf behind me. But the Boys of Tommen series by Chloe Walsh is this series of books. It's the series isn't complete. It's still going on. I can't wait for the next one to come out. But they're really good. They are about these teenagers in high school, and they go to this private school in Scotland or Ireland. Oh my gosh. It's been a while since I've read them. So I feel bad because I don't remember exactly which it is. It's either Scotland or Ireland, but the boys play rugby, and it's about this group of friends and their relationships and the trauma and drama that they deal with in their lives. And these books are so emotional and so good. The characters are built so well that you really just get into them and interested in the characters. And I love that series. I've started collecting them. They're like right behind me here on my shelf. But again, Boys of Tommen by Chloe Walsh. The first book in the series is Binding 13. And then one that was my favorite book of the year, I think I read either last year or the year before, was Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. And I know it's been turned into a TV show, and I started watching it, but I have not finished the TV show yet. But the book is really good, and it's a really good story about what it is like to be a woman, honestly. And I think it's interesting to me to read because the main character in the book, to read her experiences. She's a woman in tech. She's in chemistry. She's a chemist. But what she deals with in her life and being a woman in a STEM field like that. And I related to some of that, and I really, really like that book. So that's another one that I would recommend. And these are ones that have affected me. I love thrillers. So the authors that I mentioned, I think that they have books that are a little bit different that kind of stick with you rather than just most popcorn thrillers that you read and forget about later. So what I like that I see, and maybe part of this is because of the invention of Kindles, or because we were forced to stay at home with COVID, or maybe it's because people being introverts is seemingly like a more accepted thing. But you go on Instagram or TikTok and it's like there's book talk or bookstagram. But I love to go to the bookstore because I love browsing around and seeing books. I love seeing the colorful covers, something that has been a recent trend. I love this, that there are trends in books. This is like something that's popular, that people talk about. Like books tend to have sprayed edges on the physical books. Like I have this whole, like, you can't see unless you're watching the video, you can't see it, but I have books like some behind me that have sprayed edges that just looks really, really cool, honestly. And so I have started to collect some of those if it's a book that I really like. So I love going to bookstores, getting a cup of coffee at Barnes and Noble, and just go browsing around to see what books I want to read next. And then again, I've talked a lot about Kindles and e-readers, and I have more than one. I am planning to sell some of them, but because I have too many. But I have tried to just kind of find out what works for me when I take a Kindle with me to read when I'm traveling or I'm reading at home, or even now they have like the Kindle Scribe where you can annotate with a pencil. And it's funny because there's like Kindles and Kobos and other e-readers now, but there's like accessories that you get to set up a really cozy, nice atmosphere to read with your Kindle. Like I've seen this, if you go on Book Talk or Bookstagram, you see people that have a stand that they put their Kindle on, and they'll have a page turner that you can clip onto the Kindle or that connects with Bluetooth, and you can use it to turn the pages, and just everything to make it a cozy experience when you're reading. And I love that. This is such a great hobby, I think. Way better than sitting there doom scrolling or just watching mindless television for hours. But yeah, so along with the page turners and the Kindle stands, I also try to set up a cozy atmosphere to read at home. I have my YouTube, what I watch on YouTube, all of my videos that pop up. So many of them are like ambiance videos of, like, you can see in the background, I've got like a Christmas ambiance video with fireplace or snow or rain. I love the sound of rain. So a lot of times I will listen to or watch a rain video in the background while I'm reading. I even recently bought a projector, a really cheap projector, because I can put it up on my wall when I'm reading and it looks like a rainy or a snowy window or a fireplace, and it just makes this nice little atmosphere to read in. So yeah, so it's such a part of my life and it's just been so good for me and so helpful, and I wanted to talk about that and share that with you guys. And just to kind of wrap up this conversation a little bit, like, I just think that for those of us that like to read, I love it that reading it's a distraction and it doesn't solve any problems, but it can help us get through them, because I mean, that's kind of how life works anyway. You pretty much have to get through things that aren't just not going to end or go away. And reading can help with that. And I'm so grateful and thankful that it's there and that people are even more getting into it. And I just love it. And yeah, so I love it that it helps us use our imagination, and it's an art form of writing stories. And I love that. And it's very meaningful to me and it's helped me so much in my life. So yeah, so that's it for today. Thank you guys for listening. The podcast launched today. So you guys all know that this is going on now. And I appreciate the people that are listening or watching. This podcast, The Girl versus Life, is available on Apple Podcasts. It's available on Spotify podcasts, and it's also available on YouTube as a video podcast. It's on my YouTube channel. There's a special section for it in my Girl versus Planet YouTube channel. And I'm not looking to make money or anything really off of this, but kind of just as a goal, to set a goal, I would like to get to monetization at some point on YouTube, and I'm not quite there yet. So if you could go out to my YouTube page and just hit the subscribe button, comment, like the video, whatever, all of that helps me get closer to that goal. And I appreciate that if you're willing to do that. So again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're a reader, tell me what you're reading. Tell me what it means to you. Just reach out to me, leave a comment on my Instagram or YouTube. Just, send me an email, like Cheryl at girlversusplanet.com. Thank you, and I will talk to you next time.